Good morning, everyone. We'll kick off the ordinary meeting today, and I welcome you all. I declare the ordinary meeting of 30th of July 2025 open at 9:20 a.m. As I mentioned, we've got some technical issues this morning, so I advise members of the public that the meeting is being recorded and expected to be played back once we can resolve the technical issues. But the meeting is being delivered in accordance with council standing orders. Councillors and staff are reminded of their responsibilities under the respective codes of conduct, both inside the council meeting and when dealing externally on behalf of council. I'd like to start off by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we meet here today and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Welcome Whitsunday Regional Councillors, WRC staff, members of the public in the room, and we don't have any media here, but the media if they're listening in. I guess probably just start with another comment. Exciting morning in Bowen here today. As many of you be aware, we finally saw something on the launch of Gilmore Space's Eris rocket at the Bowen Spaceport. So it went off with a bang. Just talking to some text back and forth with James. They got off the launch pad, but barely. Yeah, I think probably more quite a bit of smoke and puff. But yeah, I guess by all accounts, getting off the launch pad was a definition of success for them. On behalf of the community, want to congratulate them on their efforts, and we look forward to those next steps onwards and upwards for them and also for the region. Okay, our first item is apologies, leaves of absence. No recorded apologies for the meeting, and do note that Councillor Clifford is attending over a conference call due to being currently in hospital. Councillor Clifford, we thank you for your effort to attend and wish you speedy recovery. Item number 2, condolences. Are there any councillors that wish to acknowledge any recently deceased members of our community? Councillor Finlay.
I would ask my brother in Montagna. Raleen is part of the Power family. Quite a few family trees, part of that, but Raleen was a very respected person in our community and in family, and her descendants will go back to the Jackie Thompson yesterday. So yeah, the funeral was on this Friday. But yeah, just pass that regards on to the family.
Anyone else? On behalf of Whitsunday Regional Council, we would like to acknowledge and pay our respects to the recently departed of the Whitsundays region and offer our sincere condolences to their families and loved ones. Would everyone please join me standing for a minute of silence? Please be seated, everyone. Okay, our next item is confirmation of prior minutes, and we have 2 sets of minutes for adoption here. So first one, sorry, did you have something to say?
There are a couple of minor changes in relation to the minutes to make it very clear in relation to how we did our calls for divisions. We'll make a few minor changes in relation to those. So just to ensure that we understand who is for, against, and if anybody abstained during that process. So we'll clarify that in the minutes going forward.
Yeah. please. Okay, so our first, we are going to adopt them separately, even though it is detailed together in the report. So the first one we will be adopting is the confirming the minutes of the special council meeting held 18th of June 2025. Can I have a mover, please? Move Councillor Collins, second Councillor Wright. Any further comment there, discussion? Okay, if that's the case, I'll put the confirmation of the minutes of the special council meeting held 18 June 2025 to the vote. Those in favour? The motion is confirmed unanimously. And the second is the confirmation of the minutes ordinary council meeting held 18th of June 2025. Can I have a mover? Move Councillor Wright, second Councillor Bowman. Any discussion, Councillor Bowman?
Just quickly, Mr. Mayor, I noticed a special circumstance voice about including the entire minutes in the agenda. I don't know if it's really working for me. As I know we've got 2 lots of minutes, but we've ended up with 500 pages in 5 separate files. So I think if we were going to do one document, I'd probably follow the legislation and other councils where we just put the motions and the votes within the agenda rather than put the entire minutes back in. It's just a comment. Thank you.
Yeah, I think agree in terms of that process. We're currently doing a bit of a review of how we do our processes, and that concept is so for the next round we will have the minutes as a separate document.
I agree with your comments there, Councillor Bowman. I think myself going through it was probably a little bit confusing. So yeah, I think that's a good suggestion there, Mr. CEO. Anything further? Okay, the motion the council confirms the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held 18 June 2025 are put to the vote. Those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, item number 4 is business arising. Would any councillor like to raise any business arising from the prior minutes? That's right, please.
I'd just like to, I know the Mayor and I did meet last week with Whitsunday school students and they were going to zoom into this particular meeting, but watch the live stream. So unfortunately, but I'm really glad that they're able to have the footage. We are recording it so they can go through and watch it at a time that suits them. But yeah, it's great to have the students in the chamber asking the questions, and I think we do have a really bright future with all the youth in our community. So it's really wonderful to see, and it was a great visit from the school.
That's all right. Okay, item number 5, mayoral minute. There is no mayoral minute for this meeting. Moving on to item 6, notice of motion. We received 2 notices of motion. Item 6.1 relating to council expenditure. Councillor Collins, this was put forward. Would you like to move the item, please?
Yep.
Happy to move. Second, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, look, basically it's all written there in writing what we what needs to be done. I think the reason I'm bringing this forward is I keep constantly getting asked what, you know, who is paying for everything the councils attend to, and who's paying for their travel, their sponsorship, their accommodation, all that sort of stuff. Not only for council business, but for group businesses, committee that councillors are on. I believe that the council needs to know, and for transparency, I think the best option is to have it reported as it says there, quarterly and also in the annual report. I've excluded the mayor simply because of the what's the word? The advocacy. The advocacy is part of the mayor's job, and you know, I don't expect every single meeting and everything the mayor does to be reported on here against his register of interest and annual report. So, you know, I'd like to see that everyone, for transparency, show the public we actually are honest about everything. I believe that this is ideal, and I'd like everyone to support it if they can.
Okay, debate on this particular motion. Anyone like to speak? Councillor Cohen?
Try and wrap up a question, something there. I certainly understand with the mayor's expenses, but we have a requirement for those to be in the annual report. there a conflict between this motion or it's legislation just overrule it? This sets us up for quarterlies. And also, you know, these expenses have been put out in that annual report. I certainly support the motion that they can come out quarterly in the departments. I think that's there. I do think maybe further investigation needs to go into how we do break that down to raise the specific points that Councillor Collins has raised, because I think even with last year's annual report, we got these totals and it wasn't even clear to the councillors where that expenditure had arisen from. Thank you. I support the motion in general, but I do think there could be further discussions into how we do prepare that report to make us transparent to the public. Thanks.
That's Philip.
Mr. Chair, that's probably, I fully support Councillor John's motion here, but I also understand where Councillor Clay's coming from. So I think where John was coming from about the mayor's expenses, but unfortunately the Act says we have to. So I think we can't override the Act. So in a way, this motion for the way it is sort of not quite
Contravenes the Act.
yeah. There is a word. What is it? I'll get CEO's opinion on it.
So I think what Councillor Collins is actually asking for is not just the finances, but a little bit of indication of where it actually the travel is, what the operations are. So the Act requires us to do that as part of the annual report. We're still required to do that, including the mayor in relation to that. In terms of the annual report, we'll continue to do that. For the quarterly, it's more about just breaking it up a little bit as to where people have, what they've spent their money on, where it's actually gone to. What I would suggest, if this gets forward through, then we would actually do a table, circulate to the councillors prior to the first quarter, so you get a feel for the type of information we're likely to produce on a quarterly basis. We're clear that basically in relation to the annual report, we'll be reporting on the finances of the mayor as well as all the councillors as per the Act. This is actually to take it broader than just pure one-line finances, to have more information being provided.
I do agree with what the CEO said. I maybe would put it to the mover and seconder if we did just remove the mayor from there, because when I look back at the last 2 years' annual reports, the deputy mayor, you know, as it shifted from Councillor Simpson across to Councillor Wright, there was an increase in their expenses as well. And I think if we didn't include the mayor and show that required representation, I mean, our policy calls for both of you to try and attend, you know, go to certain conferences. So maybe scaling it up to the mayor does really show the top expense, and then the deputy mayor doesn't step out in just fulfilling their position as well. But that would clear it up with the legislation that requires the mayor. I just open that up to the panel.
Look, I think I just want to talk to the process itself. I think, in my opinion, this should be covered by our policy settings and covered in the councillor expenses policy rather than a standalone motion. I think, you know, I don't have any issue with the intent of what it's trying to achieve here, but I just feel it feels a little bit targeted in the public forum. I think we need to address this through policy settings rather than a targeted motion. You know, I have concerns that in the future that this opens us up to similar other motions where we might not like something that a particular councillor does, and we want to frame that in the public realm. So I guess my thoughts is it should be included within the policies, and if we don't think the policies are strong enough, or particularly the enforcement provisions within the policies, then we need to strengthen those policies. That's all right.
I actually don't mind this motion. I think it's a good reminder to all of us to be fulfilling our obligations, and at times, sometimes events just roll on and we do get a bit sidetracked. And I think this is just a good reminder, because we are scrutinised harder than any level of government. So yeah, we have to be making sure that we're dotting the I's and crossing the T's and doing everything right. And I just think this is a good reminder for all of us to making sure that we are reporting everything.
For the comment, Councillor Collins, do you want to close this out?
I'm quite happy to remove excluding the mayor more, and in both of the recommendation and the purpose, and is have it attended by councillors, events attended by all councillors more regularly can be ensure transparency and accessibility. So if depending my second, would like to be happy with that.
Yep.
Joanne? Any further discussion? Councillor Clifford, do you have anything online there? Okay, so the motion, the council report all costs and benefits associated with travel, sponsorship travel functions and events attended by councillors to be reported within the quarterly report and annual report. I put to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried 5-2. Okay, our next item, notice of motion, is item 6.2, opening hours, Cannonvale and Proserpine Libraries. Move.
I'd like to move an alternate motion.
Yes, certainly, Councillor Bell.
I did send email this through to Madeline, but council allocates immediate funding to retain Saturday morning opening hours at Bowen, Cannonvale and Proserpine Libraries, effective Saturday, August 2nd. And commits to aligning 4-year funding in budget review 1. Second.
Second, Councillor Collins. I'll get you to speak to the motion a bit more there, Councillor.
Yes, thank you. I did amend the motion just so we could open up the discussion around the table on the 3 libraries that currently have the Saturday morning service. I've had a few emails backwards and forwards with Director Julie just about information that was given to us when we made these decisions. I certainly know it was a big part of all our budget deliberations to look for savings and efficiencies throughout our council, and I think some of the costs we saw here and some of the numbers could be updated by the director today that would give us a more realistic view. I'll speak to it while I'm here. From what I've worked out is the Saturday morning cost works out to about 0.01% of our operational budget. And I think from the visitation numbers, well, the director will hopefully be able to present today. I see it's a large amount of the community. I'd also say when we had our How Do You Library expos recently, we chose a Saturday morning that event on, and I think a very large number of people showed up at every library, and that may have skewed our numbers a little bit as well. But I think we see from the cries out on Facebook, above and beyond many other questionable decisions we've made, there's a reason for me to bring this to a public debate decision.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, we've been through the budget. We just adopted the minutes there today, and we the general fund had a, correct me if I'm wrong, acting director there, 9.3 million deficit in the general fund, and we've had to make some pretty hard decisions, and got harder decisions even coming up. We've got to make a start somewhere to rein the budget in, especially the general fund. The libraries offer a fantastic service to everybody, and from the comments that we've been getting back and the surveys over the years, it's been absolutely fabulous. From my calculations, Mr. Mayor, 9,518 people visiting those libraries on a Saturday times $17.75 equates to $168,944, which is what it costs us to operate those libraries on a Saturday. I asked a question to the mover of the motion to where we're going to find $168,944, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I guess the question was directed to the mover, and I guess rather than the specific detail, I think it was a high-level question, Councillor Finlay. Where's the money going to come from?
Oh yes, Mr. Mayor, because that's I'm happy to support the motion, but on the other side,
where's the money
where the money's going to come from, and that means we've got to, I don't know, we've been through it.
Yep. Councillor Bowman, would you like to address first Director Julie with regards to maybe some of the statistics around the Would you like to address some of the statistics first?
Yeah.
Yep, sure.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I can do some of the statistics, and I just want to clarify what it costs on a Saturday
Yep.
and what it's allowed us to save over the entirety of the year. So, yes, Councillor, 9,518 folk in attendance to our libraries over, that was last year, okay? Yet Councillor Bowman is correct, we had How Do You Library and helped the attendance greatly on those 3 Saturdays that we had. There was quite we had hundreds there. Each library costs, well, the bond costs to run for the year 22,500, close to. Crossy 23,000, just on 23,700, and Cannonvale 22,308, which is $68,500. That's Saturday mornings only with the penalty rates. Being able to close Saturday mornings, okay, and absorb that staff in to Monday to Friday across the region has also allowed a vacancy not to be filled. Nobody's lost their job, but a vacancy hasn't been filled. Now that vacancy with on costs is 115,781. So the two figures together, yes, Councillor, $169,016 is a saving across the libraries for the entirety. I just wanted to clarify that, so you didn't think it was costing that much on a Saturday, but it is allowed for that 70,000 Saturday mornings, okay, plus the ability to be able to save on that vacancy, which is 115,000. So in total, closing Saturdays across the libraries for the year, that's the 170. So I just wanted to help Councillor Bowman with that now. Yeah.
So just to confirm, Director, so with what's proposed there to reopen the 3, you would need to realise that vacancy again?
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Okay, so it is a cost, yes.
Yeah.
Councillor Robb?
Could I ask a question, please, Mr Mayor?
You happy to wait for Councillor Clifford? Councillor Clifford, please go ahead.
Okay, I understand why we've got to sort of cut back and all the rest of it, but particularly at Cannonvale, it's very popular on a Saturday. Has anybody looked at maybe closing them all on a Monday or the day that we don't have anything much going on that's not very popular? Because Mondays seem to be pretty quiet everywhere, and it would make a lot of sense just to close them all on one day rather than ad hoc here, there and everywhere.
Would you like to address that, Director?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Clifford, Monday staff, Monday to Friday, we have FTEs across the week, across the year. To close on a Monday is going to be very difficult to enable those staff to still have that 7.25 hours a day, you know, so we would have 10, 12 staff, you know, on those days. Does it mean those staff lose those hours and out of their FTE? Because we don't need those staff on a Saturday. And on a Saturday, unless Councillor Clifford is speaking about opening for the entire day on a Saturday, but a Saturday...
We could do that.
Okay, so we just have to remember that on a Saturday we are paying 31% penalty rates on top of what the ordinary wage is.
Thank you, Director Julie. Councillor Robb?
Through the Mayor. Mr Mayor, I'm a little bit embarrassed that we're having these conversations regarding staffing around this table. I just don't think it's the right forum to be doing this. We were all there to be during the budget conversations. We all decided that this is the way forward. No one wants to make these hard decisions, but sometimes this is our job, like we have to. We also discussed possibly looking at, if we were to shut on a Saturday, to maybe look at extending our hours so people who work and go to school are able to attend after hours, and that's something that we can explore. But I really think that we've made a decision, and it isn't something that we can go to the community for. The data is what the data is. I don't think by going out to the community and asking if that we should leave the library open on a Saturday is the most sensible thing to do. Because of course, like, everyone is going to say yes, I feel, whether they use the library once a year or once a week. I just don't think it's relevant. I think we look at the people who are actually walking through the door, and that's the business model, and that's how we make the decision that we've made. Yes, and Councillor Clay, I'm glad that you did change it to Ardbone, because there's no way I was going to support it otherwise, because we are one region. But yeah, look, I do think that we've made a decision, and it's our job to go out to the community and talk to them about our different options. And maybe that's something that we can discuss moving forward, maybe opening or extending hours through the week. I would rather do that than go back to doing what we've always done. So yeah, that's probably my point of view.
Councillor Simpson, I'd like to hear from you.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I've sort of got a foot in both camps here, Councillor Clay. I can accept the first part of the motion to reopen the libraries on a Saturday morning, but committing to our first quarter budget review in October, full funding, I think, maybe public consultation. I've had some phone calls from mothers, school teachers, single parents that can only take their kids to the library on weekends and stuff like that. I think we need to review this more, and to follow on from Councillor Wright, like with last meeting, we adopted the budget. We fought long and hard for 6 months to try and save some funds, and here we are in our first meeting back overturning it. And yeah, it's a tough call for me. I'm a bit either way on this, but if there's any way out, if we could possibly for the interim keep the libraries open on a Saturday and review it and see if there is a better day, or yeah, do you know what I mean? To go to public consultation, we've got the staff there. That's just my thoughts. Thanks.
During the budget discussion, I actually supported the idea of closing it. But however, this is, like I said the other day, you guys, this is a bit like the fluoride discussion. I've had quite a lot of people come and see me. I've had people ring me, and the numbers of the people wanting it open was incredible. Zero wanted it closed. So I know $168,000 is money we've got to find in the budget. However, we spend millions on the pools. We're not going to close the pool for one day to save money. We'd probably get shot. But the thing is, there's people that swim, there's people that read, people use the library, people use the pool. It's there for public reasons, for the general public. We spend a lot of money on different things. Like, we spend millions on master plans. Most people think that's all pie in the sky stuff. Is it ever going to happen? But we need to think of the big picture. And like I said, I supported it. I'll backtrack on my words, and I'm going to be supporting this motion. So yeah.
Because one, I think there's a couple of important points here. I think probably summing up well, I generally don't like the process of bringing back a motion regarding an item that we've effectively just agreed on, and I'll make you aware of the fact that there are a lot of decisions that we didn't agree on, and I'm looking at Councillor Finlay. He might have something he might want to bring back. Councillor Simpson might want to bring something back, and the last thing I want to see these meetings degrade into is a series of things that we don't like about a decision or one another we're pushing forward. So, I think it's important that we listen to the people, but at the same time, we are responsible for making those decisions. And I think I probably was voting against this when you brought it up originally, Clay, but I think obviously taking that broader approach for me is incredibly important and making sure that we're considering the whole region. I think the big thing we need to understand with regards to our finances is that our current models are not working. I guess you mentioned aquatics there, Councillor Collins. Our aquatics went up $1 million this year. That's 20% increase. I know that the pool's still going to be there, but we need better business models for operating these things because we cannot sustain the type of increases that we've seen. So, look, I think in lieu of a better business model at this point in time, I recognise the importance of this to the community, but I think we really need to, even as part of this motion, consider bringing back a business model that's going to fit the individual regions, and respect that they're not all the same. Respect that we may need to be open in a Saturday in one location, but that could be offset by different operating times through the week, and vice versa. That might be different in Bowen. They might prefer Monday to Friday. So we need the data to know when people are coming in, what they're doing, and have it fit the funding that we're willing to allocate these things. So, any further discussion? Councillor Bowman, you can close us off.
Thank you. I'd probably, upon that debate, put to Councillor Collins that I amend the second action, and Councillor Simpson said that commits to reviewing Saturday morning services prior to budget review 1.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I think that's probably what.
So the amendment that Councillor Bowman is proposing is committing to a review of funding for the services as part of the BR1 review. Is that fine? Yeah. So rather than committing to the funding, committing to a review of the funding. Review of them all. Is that right?
Speak to that briefly. I do think you're right. Collinsville is not open on the Saturday, and within this we do see there's a variety of costs against usage, and that's the difficult thing for me. We have to make those smart decisions, and that's on the benefits that are given to the community. We can't, just say everyone gets a water park except Bailey Beach. Regional thinking, would it? So that's, for me, is we need to understand, as the CEO speaks regularly, we are not one size fit all, but we need to look at how we service our community best. And that's why I proposed to bring Bowen into this discussion, and I'm happy for it to go into the review. And that's where I think we are best headed. Again, our decisions are required to be made in open public meetings. We voted for the budget, but I spoke specifically about services being knocked on the head because they don't fit just one place. And that's why I brought this to a public decision, because in our budget deliberations, not everyone agrees, but the officers have to take the recommendations and the feelings around the rooms forward and bring them back for a vote. I spoke out about that then, and realistically for the public, our primary thing is to make open and transparent decisions. I don't like discussing staffing. I'd probably ask if the FTE is required for just one library or if that's spread across all 3. That would change the funding, but I'm very open to us doing a review and making sure that the budget decision we made was appropriate for us and the community.
Councillor Finlay.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I guess part of that review of funding would mean that we are not going to increase our dividends for water, sewage and our commercial operations to fund this extra $164,000 cost. So, well, that's taken into consideration, Mr. Mayor. I'm probably happy to support this, but also noting your comments about that this, I guess would open up 3 minutes, Mr. Mayor. But I'll leave that for another day.
That's all right.
Thank you. Through the chair, look, I don't like the way we've gone about this particular item.
And yeah, I won't be supporting it because of that reason. But just a question, if I could, to Director Julie, in regards to library opening hours, like in past years, have we always opened on a Saturday? Because I'm sure, like as a kid growing up in Bowen, we didn't always have the library open on Saturday, just when that started.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Yeah, Mr Mayor. Councillor Finlay will remember. It's probably about 10 years ago. The libraries were closed on a Saturday, and then the decision was made to open on a Saturday. For what reason was behind that, I can't give that because I was here, but I wasn't in this role. But yeah, they were always closed on a Saturday, and then the decision to open was made, and yeah, it continued on.
Any further discussion? Probably just confirming at point 2 there, we've got the right, right scripture there.
And just because it is a little bit hard to read, could we just read that out, just so we're all aware of what we're actually voting on?
Yep.
Thank you.
Before I read it, Councillor Martin, could you just confirm that you're happy with it in case we need to make any edits?
I think review of funding does cover us on a broader review and realistically trying to.
That's pretty broad. Yeah, okay.
Sorry, now on that. So what happens, we do the review and we got no extra funding to fund the service. So does that mean number 1 needs to be subject to point number 2?
I guess that comes down to a timing thing then, doesn't it? So we're basically saying, I think what we're saying here is we're going to keep the libraries open until we do a review on the budget. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's
So what we're saying, yeah. I think, yeah, to me, it's not just the funding we're reviewing, it's the operating hours across the region, it's the function we're reviewing. So commit to a review of the function or.
It's to a review of the operation of the libraries.
As part of the budget on review.
Yep.
You happy with that, Director?
Yes, yeah.
Happy with that, Councillor Collins?
Yeah. Councillor Rock, do you have something else to add?
Yeah, I'm not sure about this. Like, I really think we should be doing the review and the opera and looking at, like, we've made a decision. We need to stick with what we've decided with and then do the review and then make changes. Otherwise, we're going to be continually backflipping. I just don't think this is the right thing. Look, I understand, and I can understand, like, people wanting to use the libraries. So this is a really tough decision, but I think we have to be strong in what we decide too. Like, if we can't go back flipping all the time. We made this decision based on the fact that we need to keep our council operational. So I honestly think we need to just wipe one, but I'm more than happy to support a review. And if we can come up with something better, I would be more than happy to support that, listening to the community's views. I do think it needs a review and happy to do that, but I just don't think backflipping on the decision to now just open on Saturdays is the right thing to do.
Councillor Rock. Anything further on your motion amendments?
I'm happy to close out if we do feel the wording is strong enough to lead us into budget review 1 being a decision on these operations. Obviously, that gives the money to the department.
Can you just clarify what you're saying there, Councillor?
I'm just asking the officers around the room if that wording does clarify and save a separate motion to close it if our review and a budget review 1 does set us for these operations, or does that first motion, will that first motion be overwritten by our decision of budget review 1? Be the question.
If we run with this gives the authority to keep the libraries open and to actually bring back a review as part of the BR1. At the end of BR1, if you council decide to make a different decision or a different upgrade, you're quite entitled to do that at that. That would override this one.
Some other speaker. I think there are a lot of difficult decisions in council, but often circumstances change. Can't think of how many times short-term accommodation has been voted down around this table and then that decision overturned on decisions about cost. So we constantly seem to backflip on a lot of decisions here. And I think there's so much within the budget process the public aren't aware of. We can't go out and do public consultation on every decision we make in spending $280 million. So some of that we do make, decisions based on the information given to us at that time. And I think the figures we've heard today are very different to figures we heard when we're making some of these decisions. So that makes me feel comfortable about it. And again, going right back to the legislation, this is the room in a open public meeting where we make decisions. If they're tough decisions and if the majority vote against my motion, I can go out to the public and say, I tried, I put forward my argument, we made the decisions to save the money, and I can explain that process.
Anything further there? Okay, the motion that council allocates immediate funding to retain Saturday morning opening hours at the Bowen, Cantervale, Proserpine Libraries, effective for Saturday, August 2nd, 2025, and 2, commits to a review of funding and operations for these services as part of BR1 of the 25-26 financial year. I put to the vote. Those in favour?
Yes.
Those against? Motion is carried 6-1.
That I don't have an issue with item 2. I'm happy to review and model, but I think we could back in here.
So, we do that because it was like a footnote or something like that. Yeah. Or that Councillor Wright was supportive of resolution 22. So, okay. Okay. Here I was saying we'd be done by morning tea. We haven't even got the reports and it's almost morning tea. Such an eventful morning. All right. So item number 7 is where we are at next. Deputations. We don't have any deputations. Item number 8, petitions and questions on notice. Councillor Collins, I think we've got a petition you'd like to move.
It was a CEO, there's a petition in hand. It's a petition from the some residents in the area, in the vicinity of Halfpenny Park. They neighbour onto the property and their objections to a proposed basketball court in that region. So CEO can file it where it needs to go.
So I don't think we're asking him to file it. We're asking him to consider the petition with regards to whatever action we've got and provide a response back to the council. Is that Ben?
Back to the.
Are you happy to move, Councillor Collins?
I'll have
You happy to second, Councillor Finlay? You had a question as well? Yep.
I'd just like to know what the next part of the action is. Because I've spoken to John and read the email on this, and it's been a long time since we went out, supposedly went out to the meeting. Just curious to know where the next approach is. Are we going to go back out to do reconsultation on this? Which I would go to the board.
Over to you, Mr. CEO.
So once this is received, I will take it on board. I'll pass it to the Infrastructure Services Director, who will have a quick look at the process that we've gone through to date and give me a recommendation as to where we go from here going forward, to actually both ensure the consultation occurs while we're actually also progressing with the project. So wait for the advice from the Infrastructure Director in relation to it, and I'll report back to you about that process. At the moment, we are already in construction at the moment with some of the early works.
That's Bill.
So does that mean, through the mayor, the CEO, does that mean a report will come back to council, council will be advised if basketball court is going to go ahead or not?
Mr Mayor, yeah, we'll get a briefing from the officer, we'll work through that, we'll advise the councillors through a memo in relation to the way forward in relation to that.
5 minutes.
Well, don't have a problem with that, I don't have a problem with asking for it.
It will come, I think it'll come back. So again, it's got a choice.
I think that the petition was effectively a stop request until that consultation is undertaken. That's how I read it. So not keep going and come back and brief us. Stop what you're doing,
Yes.
investigate, come back and brief us. Is that a fair assumption? Okay, we're clear?
Sorry.
Got anything further to add on that one, Councillor Collins?
Just the report, if you could, please. We can discuss it at a briefing session.
All right. Okay, item number 9, questions from the public gallery. We've got Rogan here. Oh, sorry, it's with this. So yeah, Councillor Finlay did second it. I'll put the receiving the petition regarding proposed Halfwell Park basketball court to the vote. Those in favour?
Yes.
It's carried unanimously. Sorry, Roger. Up the gun. Questions from the public gallery. We did receive I had one public question. I kind of read it as about 3 questions there, Roger, but I'll let you have the floor. We are a little bit behind, so yeah, ask you to keep it within the 5 minutes that we allot for public questions.
Thank you. Speeches are relatively brief. However, I've prepared some background so you have an understanding as to why I'm asking the question. Firstly, you'll be pleased to know that I no longer am intending to acquire land from council at the Sports Park precinct for an aircraft landing area. I realise it's not likely to happen after I was advised by an email. This was referring to the Sports Park precinct. The wording was, the wording for the purpose of cane farming in the resolution was to save the effort of clubs applying for tender when the use was not deemed complementary to the precinct. And although the tender documents to lease the land for growing cane states the parcel offered for the initial term lease is currently in excess of council's requirements. It's a shame the council considers public utility is not complementary to the sports park precinct, and this would have been ideal for the venue for the circus. This is the background. For the land for the multi-purpose community facility now referred to as Sports Park Precinct, the Canberra was purchased by council in 2010. As part of the community consultation survey, 64 clubs were contacted and 48 responded that they were interested in using the facility. In July 2024, council engaged Ross Planning to conduct an extensive community consultation, develop a draft market plan for the area. Fortunately, Ross Planning have ignored my request to advise which clubs they had contacted. Question is, how many clubs, groups or organisations were contacted by Ross Planning and which were they? As it would take too much time for this meeting to go through the extensive list of Whitsunday clubs, I'd like to know if the 3 car clubs, the gun club, the rare fruit club with nearly 100 members, model playing club, the Christian groups, community markets, the dog training club, the puppy schools will contact, just to mention a few. My other question relating to this is, were the Rotary and Lion clubs contacted who will conduct weekend markets, garage sales, car boot sales, range for both fishing and marine shows, car shows, caravan and camping shows, farm shows, tractor pools, concerts, pet parades, and many other community events. My question, as much of the sports park community facility has been leased for growing cane, who were the successful tenderers, and what is the remuneration to council for each of these 2 leases, and when do the leases expire? That ends my questions related to the sports park precinct. The next section is the aircraft hangars at the Whitsunday Coast Air Park. It's the background. Lakeside Air Park at Bloomsbury has 18 double hangars, mostly filled with planes owned by pilots who live in the Whitsundays with a waiting list to rent fully enclosed hangars. There are no vacancies in Shute Harbour Airport. At the Whitsunday Coast Airport, there are 2 hangars. One, I believe, is privately owned, and the other hangar has one plane in pieces and is used for storing equipment. The anticipated construction of hangars at the Whitsunday Coast Airport is not immediately happening, although in April last year, the building sites for several hangars near the Aero Club were suggested by Craig Turner as the most suitable area for the hangars to be built. I obtained quotes, sourced hangar suppliers and construction companies, and I forwarded all the information over a year ago to the Whitsunday Coast Airport administration with a draft suggested hangar plans, sizes, and detailed designs to assist with the design and construction of the hangars. My brief question is, can you advise when the hangars will be constructed and when will the hangars be available? That ends my 2 questions. If I have time, and for my last question, which will go for 1 minute and 20 seconds, and it relates to speaking correctly. If not, I can probably load the next meeting.
Happy for him to finish.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Firstly, I volunteer to teach at the PCYC to school leavers who have not been able to find employment. My class lasts about an hour. As part of their Get Set for Work program, I teach them on how to get a job and keep it, how to prepare for a job interview, and what to do and what not to do at a job interview, and try to motivate the students for them to achieve their goals. I also have a YouTube site called Roger and Taylor Speaking Correctly, and teach the students how to speak correctly. The Get Set for Work program had a remarkable 72% success outcome that is well above the key performance indicators expected by the Department of Employment and Small Business Training. Yeah. The question is, although the council meetings live stream can be accessed and video viewed after the council meetings, I would like permission from the council to describe 1 minute, 60 seconds, of a section of a public meeting live stream to text only. Text only. Text would be used in my PCYC speaking correctly clubs and other guest speaking presentations or appearances. It would be text only. The text would not disclose who the speaker is. My presentation would also not disclose that it was taken from the live. The text would give credibility to my speaking correctly, with the text coming from a public live stream from not just made up. Thank you for allowing all my questions today, and have a good day.
Thank you, Roger. Mr. CEO, hold 1 second. Would you like to address any of that, Mr. CEO?
Mr. Mayor, so we'll take them on board and provide a formal response in relation to each of those individual questions, and that will be passed back to the speaker, but also to the in the minutes of the next available meeting.
Thank you very much.
We have another question from the public gallery. I don't think we recorded it in advance, but I'm happy for you to just to keep it.
Yeah, no, it'll be short and sweet. Now, the library is a big issue with me and all my family. And another thing I want to know, I don't go on the website, I want to know about what was the percentage of green waste. So that's the 2 questions. And the library, well, it's a big issue with all my family, so, yeah.
So you'd like to see the library open on the weekends?
And the prison ladies, they go in there on a Saturday too, and everything like that. And so I had a good young thing, and some of my cousins, relatives and stuff like that. So, but the library is a big issue with me, and I don't go to the pub and play pokies. So my kids and my family members are all, you know, for kids wanting library, reading books, Even I do it on a Saturday morning, not on a Tuesday morning, because I'm making the court listen my hands and my serve for the last 30 years, but the library, ever since it's been open, with my kids there when they were little, my daughter was 53 yesterday. So, yeah, so it's a big issue with our family. But I want to know about the green waste, what percentages, what stuff and how people that don't go on the website. Thank you.
Thank you. CEO, have you received those two questions?
Yes, we'll take those questions and provide a commentary back as mentioned.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item number 10, our committees reports, which there are none for this meeting. So moving on to item 11. So we had a agenda item 11.1. Director McGuffin, would you like to address the item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council asked for how to be withdrawn and reposted to the council meeting in August. That's in respect of the need to respond to a lot of the issues that have been raised by us.
So I guess just unpacking that a little bit more, the applicant is acknowledging those issues and is looking to address them, are they?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to 11.2, development application for development permit material change use childcare centre 2527 Parker Road, Cannonvale. Move Councillor Bowman, second Councillor Finlay. Director McGuffin, would you like to speak to the item?
Thanks, Mayor. As you said, the application is 2527 Parker Road. I think the majority of people will know where Parker Road is. It is in an interesting position as far as Parker Road is basically one road in, one road out, but that section of residential development. And we are working with a variety of proponents about development options in the area because of the limitations of the capacity of Parker Road. It's a low density residential zone. It is basically surrounded by low density residential development. It goes back onto the creek and obviously frontage to Parker Road has a list of overlays that have all been taken into account as part of the merit assessment, the application. Like this. It's working well.
Okay.
Thank you. Single-storey building, 2 outdoor play areas, up to 104 staff, 104 children, 21 staff. Access is direct from Parker Road. As you can see from the plans, there is a long driveway that means that when parents come to drop off their children, the queue is able to be on the site, so there's very limited impact on Parker Road. The dedicated car parking staff has been identified on the plan. There are 51 parking spaces provided. The application is code accessible and is consistent with the land use on that basis. The purpose of bringing it to council is the issue regarding the capacity of the traffic on Parker Road. Sorry, never really my phone. As I said, Mr. Mayor, the Parker Road has capacity, a nominal capacity or notional capacity of 3,000 vehicles a day. And we think that capacity will be reached when all the vacant lots in that area have dwellings put on. At the moment, they don't, but there is certainly an obligation for those houses to be constructed. So when you add the road generation, traffic generation for those existing and proposed dwellings, and add the child mining centre, it's an increase of just over 300 vehicles a day on top of what the road is deemed suitable capacity. So we think that the projected peak outflows remain within the capacity of Parker Road, given that there will be It's not a clear science that when you reach 3,000, it's acceptable, and when you reach 3,001, it's not acceptable, so there is a bit of leeway in that regard. The benefit of the proposal is that the queuing is not on Parker Road and the access to the site is quite good. Obviously in and out, and the majority of cars will be queued on the subject land. And certainly the proponent submitted a traffic impact assessment that it feels that the traffic impact of the development is acceptable.
That's fine, yep.
Point at Matt.
73 car parking spaces are required under the provisions of the planning scheme. 51 spaces have been provided on site. Designated staff, short-term bays, there's security length of at least 5 vehicles on site, and 24 bays for visitors. During our research, we have found that the Whitsunday planning scheme parking rate for childcare centres is significantly higher than some of the others that we've checked. We're not clear on exactly why that is the case. However, the proposal provides sufficient car parking, we think, to meet the needs of the childcare centre. And there's a variety of car parking provided to accommodate different users, those that will stop and just drop their kids off quickly, those that will park and take their kids in and talk to the staff and maybe last 5 minutes, and those that might stay a bit longer, so there is a variety in that regard. So in summary, Mr. Mayor, it's consistent with the planning scheme. It is well located. It doesn't adjoin existing residential development, so the expectation of noise impacting adjoining uses isn't there. I think there's adequate car parking. There is acoustic fencing. There is some flooding in the front wall to be constructed, which the proponent had agreed to. So all in all, it's recommended for approval, subject to condition.
Director. Speak to the order, Councillor Barnes.
Question first, Mr. Mayor. Outside of the one that we found another issue with our planning scheme, I think we keep finding those, keep advocating for a total renewal rather than a kitchen sink amendment again. But the question here is, in our LGIP for a very, very long time, and to open up still a large amount of residential land in that area, is the link through to the other end of Parker Road. Once that happens, does that increase the traffic on this road, or are we going over capacity for forever? And I have to point out, we already have sitting in LGIP Country Road, we have Valley Drive that needs widening, we have Paluma Road that isn't up for traffic specs. There's a long list of upgrades needed to infrastructure already, but is, once we get to ultimate development there, if we have another link, does that alleviate this traffic loading, or are we still there? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, there has always been a notional link between Parker Road and Shoot Harbour Road, which I expect you're referring to, and some of that was provided in a development that was on that adjoined Shoot Harbour Road. There, as I understand it, and I've been told, there is no link coming through to Parker Road. I think it's a good idea nonetheless, because I expect that that link will alleviate the pressure on the traffic all having to go to Able Road and basically head back to Crossline if that's the way they're going. So that link would be a godsend for Parker Road, and certainly there has been discussions with some of the landowners, and I assume you know that the land that was originally approved subdivision adjoining the Shoot Harbour Road and the quarry, that has changed hands, and there's been circumstances changed that really mean that construction of the road is going to be extremely difficult, if at all economical. So in answer, if there was a link, it would help Parker Road. I think the circumstances are, isn't practical anymore.
Councillor Kibbe, you're okay there?
They just keep coming in to torture me.
I'll put up the do not disturb sign, eh? Sorry.
Yeah.
Can't get there.
I thought I had.
Councillor.
Just a quick follow on then, so does that mean in your opinion that at ultimate development of those residential lots, we will be, 10% over capacity on Parker Road, and will that come to another infrastructure upgrade or, a widening and increase of that road?
For instance, Mayor, it's an interesting question as far as the capacity for Parker Road, nominally identified at 3,000 vehicles a day. On a desktop review, yes, this technically takes it over. I would suggest that the increase that we're looking at, in my mind, would not justify widening Parker Road. I think that is a substantial cost, and for the benefit that would bring, I would suggest that it's just impractical. If there was a developer that was willing to do that, we'd certainly listen. But I think by the time you look at the cost of widening Parker Road, for the yield that is potentially available, it just won't work.
Any questions or anyone like to speak to the item? I mean, I live relatively close to the area here. Drive obviously Parker Road every day going to and from, and acknowledge it is a road that is getting busier. I think talking to the location of this development, though, to me it seems quite suitable for that particular block. Anyone that's been in that area knows that it's being built out past it and around it, and these it's not just this block. There's another two next to it that are, even though quite sizable, are tricky from a housing development point of view. And I think to me, this seems like a suitable use for the block in question there. It's got some natural protection from the creek adjoining, and I think probably add a significant degree of benefit to the local community there, which is predominantly young families. So acknowledge Councillor Bowman's comments there around Parker Road. I think strategically we need to keep an eye on that and look for the opportunities for the future there, because as I said, we've got school buses going down there now, significant development continuing to occur, and we just need to make sure that we're considering that into the future. Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do agree. Childcare is obviously an incredibly important service for me, but the trade-off that I've looked here, that having it within the residential area can actually keep traffic off the Able Road, Shoot Harbour Road intersection and things, if they had to go to another location, if that's like very close, bordering on to access of the Ducking Home at Canberra Lakes Park. I think there is benefits to this location, and as reading the report, I don't see there being safety issues. Parking wise, I'd rather see the increased queuing length than 2 parking spots or 1 parking spot for every 2 children that are in there all day. So I think the design works there. Probably lucky last question is, it does propose a dinosaur in the front yard. Are there any visual amenity triggers in this zone?
No, it's just not. Yeah.
Ready for anyone like to talk to the item for or against? Questions? Okay. The motion that council approve the application for development application material change of use for a childcare centre made by Parker Road Investments at 25 to 27 Parker Road, Cannonvale. I put to the vote. Those in favour? The motion's carried unanimously. Okay, we might adjourn for morning tea there if everyone's happy to. So move to adjourn for morning tea. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Adjourning at 10:29 a.m.
Okay, everyone, we'll resume. Reconvene the meeting at 10:52 a.m. Okay, moving on to item 11.3, which is request for an extension of currency period development application of a lot 1 into 5 lots at Allen Road, Conway. Move Councillor Simpson. Second, Councillor Collins. Director McGaff, would you like to speak to this one?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a technical matter as far as the proponent's done a lot of work or prepared for a lot of the work and hasn't done enough, and the time of his planning approval has
this way.
run out. So I hadn't even started. and I'm at the end.
Is it the end? Oh, sorry.
Yep, that's it. Okay, Allen Road, Conway, Mr. Mayor. It's a 5-lot subdivision that does have previous appearance at the Planning and Environment Court where it was approved for a 6-lot. The proponent has removed one of those lots, and that was also assisted because it was a driveway that didn't have to be constructed. So in the original approval, going back to 2016, there is a requirement for payment in lieu of constructing Allen Road. That payment hasn't been made as yet because the document hasn't been acted upon. And as I said, minor change to remove one lot went through the court in 2005. Excuse me, Gavin, but
Can you progress the slide one, please, Neil?
thank you. So the proponent is looking for a 5-month extension of the approval. Everything's in place, got a contractor lined up, the survey plan has been prepared and ready to lodge with council, so that's ready to roll. Even though it's taken quite some time, the applicant's demonstrated continuous effort to complete the development, and it can be done within the 5 months. We're confident of that. That's all he's asking for. So the recommendation is for approval subject to conditions.
Thank you, Director. Anyone like to speak to the item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Director Neil. Probably a couple of things here, going back to the previous one. This applicant was required to put in financial amount to actually go towards road upgrading, where we've just allowed over capacity, knowing it would be very expensive to upgrade part of the road. We didn't put any similar requirement on the last developer, and I know with this one, unfortunately, it's 9 years ago that they set the dollar amount. My real question here is, once they pay this $67,000, does that trigger council needing to go and do the upgrade on this road, or does that fall into our infrastructure plan and capital works?
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor. The subdivision triggers the payment, and the payment is associated with the upgrade of Allen Road. The money would go to infrastructure and would go into all of the considerations that Director Gary takes into account as far as what roads need to be done, what the priorities are. My understanding is that there is no legal mandate that the council has to upgrade Allen Road, but certainly you would expect that, depending on the amount of money coming in and the cost of upgrading Allen Road, that it would be given a reasonable priority when the Department of Infrastructure are looking towards a capital program and works that need to be done.
Any further councillors? Okay, the motion that council approved the request for an extension of the currency period of the reconfiguration of lot 1 into 5 at Allen Road, Conway Beach. I put to the vote. In favour?
Yes.
Motion is carried unanimously. Okay, moving on to item 11.4, development permit for an operational works for advertising devices freestanding billboard at 228 Shute Harbour Road, Cannonvale. Move Councillor Finlay, second Councillor Bowman. Director McGaffin, would you like to talk to
Mayor. just to see if things work a little bit easier, I might come and stand closer to the where I should. Shoot Harbour Road, Mr Mayor. For those that were around after Debbie, Council occupied several premises at this location. It is sort of a secondary urban centre, commercial centre for Cannon.
I'll just rely on Mads to tick through on that. Just give her a tap on the back of the chair or something like that. So.
No offence, Mads. It's a district centre zone, Mr Mayor. It's a commercial area. It is adjoining the new NRMA holiday park with low density residential development sort of further at the rear. Thanks, Matt. It is a new freestanding billboard. The significant aspect as far as we're concerned is the fact that it's going to be used for third party advertising. It is quite high, not unusual to a lot of signs that exist in the area. However, this is, you can see the V shape of it, two sign faces, just shy of 20 square metres, fronting Shoot Harbour Road. These photos show the existing signs in the area, and the blue represented here is what is effectively proposed. It is close to the common boundary between the caravan park and the commercial area. The important aspect to be taken into account is the access. It's not a road, but it is an access into the commercial premises and into the Shell service station. It carries a lot of traffic, and it is an uncontrolled T intersection. There have been a list of crashes that we have investigated as part of our assessment. There are limitations about where the sign should be located. It's located within the area that is suggested that it should not be located because of the impact that it may have on traffic.
Can I say something, please, Mr. Mayor?
Yep. Maybe just wait for Director McGaffin to finish his.
Sure. Sorry, I thought he had.
And then I'll come to you, Councillor Clifford.
The pictures that you see here are also in Cantervale, and the purpose of showing them is that there are no third-party signs. So what we're looking at here is the first introduction of a sign that will promote other activities that are not in that location. There are freestanding pylon signs, so we're not sort of resolving from that aspect. The issue here relates to the third-party advertising. So in our view, the proposal, because it is a third party, it is in the conflict area as far as safety with the intersection, and it does represent a freestanding sign that will promote aspects, businesses that aren't on the premises. It will become inconsistent with what is expected as far as signage is concerned in the commercial areas. There is no need that's been provided as far as justification about why this sign has to be there advertising premises and businesses that aren't on the site. So for those reasons, the proposal is recommended for refusal.
Thank you, Director. Over to you, Councillor Clifford. You had a question?
More of a statement. I wasn't going to support this because it's for off-site parties, so to speak. And the other thing too is that if we're going to allow more advertising devices, we need to put something around it where they can only have one per property. So sure, they could have one there to advertise PRD and whoever else is around in that area. But I just think that there's enough other advertising around without increasing it in this way.
Thank you, Councillor. Do you want to speak to it all, Councillor Finlay?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, yeah, absolutely support Director Neil's report here and his recommendations, particularly on the line of the dot point number 3 with the potential of causing traffic and a safety hazard, and also I think the issue around this is it's advertising. What's the word? Outside the offside advertising. Yeah, absolutely beautiful signs, everything like that, nice photos, everything like that, but it's going to be a distraction.
Thank you. Councillor Rock?
Yeah, thank you, through the Mayor. I don't agree with the refusal. I'm going to vote against that. I think we've seen these couple of things on previous occasions, different applications, and we don't support them in the rural setting, and then we don't support them in the commercial area or commercial centre, as Director McGaffin sort of previously said earlier. So I don't have an issue with this at all, even though it's not advertising in that specific location. It's still advertising for the Whitsundays as a whole, and I think that's a good thing. I want to see us promoting our local businesses. And it, to me, looking at the visuals here, it doesn't seem to be blocking any line of sight traffic on the road. So yeah, I don't have a problem with. I'd like to see this approved.
Thank you, Councillor Rock. Councillor Simpson.
Yeah, just a comment and follow up from Councillor Michelle. I tend to agree also with Early Beach, Cannonvale area is fairly busy, hundreds of businesses, and to me it makes more sense if you could advertise 100 businesses on one sign rather than have 100 signs up. It's a question to Director Neil. Is there anywhere specific in the Early Beach, Cannonvale area where we could have one of these signs approved, or are they always going to be recommended for refusal?
Interesting question, Councillor Simpson, through you, Mr Mayor. Look, essentially the planning scheme doesn't promote third-party signs. It would be remiss of me if I didn't say that there is an existing sign in the middle of the Early Main Street that advertises local businesses, but also third-party companies and businesses. So that is sort of the first introduction to the third-party advertising type initiative. Again, I understand this sign on its own may not be a problem, but then again it may set a precedent and it may encourage more. And yes, Councillor Bowman's comment about the planning scheme in this regard isn't very strong on the signs. It is quite strong on the large signs you see along the main roads and the highways and things like that, with discrete controls and distances apart and things like that. You don't have the same level of control for third-party signs in commercial areas.
Councillor Bond.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think I've spoken before about understanding the benefits of electronic signs over the visual amenity clutter of a gazillion billboards. I think we touched on that with the Bowls Club one at the other signage down the front. So to what Councillor Clifford said is if we could get rid of a whole bunch of signs and get one sign, I think that's better. I think it does allow more businesses to advertise, which is a good thing. As we saw that in Early Main Street, that a clutter of the clock tower and all these different signs was replaced by screens allowing more varied advertising. The reason I've seconded this motion for refusal here is on the safety grounds. I think the Director spoke to it. It's in close proximity to the crossover to the shopping centre and this business centre. We know what Shoot Harbour Road is like. We know people are grabbing for smaller gaps the entire time. I come and go there regularly. I think we're finding more and more people are driving right through the shopping centre and going to the not roundabout to get access onto Shoot Harbour Road. But there are those people that still jump in and out of there, and that's where a sign that's changing every 6 seconds can be that moment's distraction. Probably say also that the
one and only, the tree's on their property, but it's the one and only tree. We've actually got a footpath in Canmale, but we have no shade, and the one and only tree that provides any shade in that stretch would be going to open up this billboard as well. But really for me, safety of that driveway, and I've also considered the queuing that we get on the other side of the road at school pickup time, because all the cars, with a 5 vehicle queuing at the childcare, the cars literally queue up onto Shoot Harbour Road and have to come back out into traffic to get around the guardrail to turn into Coral Esplanade. So I really think, as we know, this is one of the areas of Shoot Harbour Road that is extremely dangerous. I don't speak against the idea of advertising. Again, we're a bit behind in the planning scheme, that we're not up to date with these technologies that are being rolled out that can have benefits for local business. But in this instance, I think the officer's recommendation is correct. Thank you.
I guess just echoing some of the comments there. I think, look, the thing for me, having seen the other digital board that's gone up in Airlie Beach, is that these things can actually, do more to enhance the area. And I think, echoing some of your comments there, Councillor Bowman, I think for me, if we could have, have more of these there, and possibly look to take some of the physical ones away, particularly that clutter up our regional areas, would be a great sort of future vision to have, I think, in a way. I think talking to this specifically, I actually don't have any issues with the location whatsoever. I think we see already that there are light boards of different descripts put there through different times. TMR and QPS put their speed cameras up. There's any number of things down there, as well as other existing LED boards. Acknowledging it is a busy road, but I think with a device like this, to me, if it's not suitable for the front of a commercial centre, then I don't really know where it is suitable for. So I think talking to the issue of precedent, I think that's already been resolved, because there's already one in Airlie Beach that was replaced under a similar circumstance, and I think we may even have some appetite of our own to place LED boards on main streets in the near future. So I think we need to provide a bit more certainty back to the development industry around what we want to see with regards to advertising devices. And given this is a refusal, I won't be supporting the refusal. Anyone else like to speak to the matter?
I have one quick question.
Question, Councillor Bowman.
Thank you. There is another electronic billboard further up towards Valley Drive there, on the back of the building, near MacArthur Drive. The digital sign there, has that been through the process?
Through Mr Mayor, I assume you're talking about the bottle shop? No? You're going to have to give me more of a hint.
I mentioned on the back of a fitness centre, close proximity to the...
Yes, there is.
Point of order, what's that got to do with this motion, please?
Want to clarify that, Councillor?
Yes, thank you. There is another electronic billboard that's in close proximity to this on Shoot Harbour Road, and close proximity to an intersection. So I'm just looking for a point of relevance if this one has been through the decision process, whether that was code accessible, and whether that one was approved by the department, to give us some guidance in this decision.
Through Mr Mayor, it did come through an approval process. It was approved, and it basically advertises the businesses at that premise.
Thank you. Any further debate or discussion on this one, councillors? No? Okay, Councillor Clifford, you're right there?
Yeah, all good, thank you.
Okay, the motion that council refuse the application for development application for an advertising device at 228 Shoot Harbour Road, Cannonvale, for the following reasons. The proposal does not comply with the overall outcome of advertising devices code. 2, the proposal does not comply with parts A and B of the performance outcome 1 and 2 of the advertising devices code. And point 3, the proposal does not comply with the performance outcome 6 of the advertising devices code. I put to the vote. Those in favour?
Yes.
Those against? The motion is lost 3-4. Councillor Director McGavin, would you like to say something?
Mr Mayor, on the basis this may have occurred, we do have an alternate
Resolution?
resolution that council may wish to consider.
Yep. Would anyone, can we maybe see that first?
Yep.
And probably good, I'll talk right through it, Councillor Clifford, just so you're aware of its
Thank you.
information.
I think there's an earlier page to that, Max. Should be more of a, sorry, it's meant that there's an introductory bit that basically is the administrative side of going against the council officer's recommendation and then goes to the alternate recommendation, so that should be on the top of what was sent to you.
Would it be preferable for me to table it and come back to it later?
There it is.
You found it? Okay. So what am I reading here?
Reasons for refusal, a recommendation.
Just 1 and 2. Okay, so the new, just correct me if I'm wrong, Director McGuffin, the revised motion would be that council approve the application with reference to terms of section 254 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 of the Planning Act. Council's reasons for not adopting the recommendation or advice are as follows. 1, the location of the sign is not a distraction to drivers. 2, the sign is consistent with the character of the area. Is that sufficient?
That's a series of documents.
And will comply with
Then there should be a whole range of conditions.
conditions.
There are, and Matt's has already had, and there are the conditions.
Okay.
I don't think we need another motion, that's
Yep.
correct on that.
Yep. So in line with that, is anyone happy to move the motion? Councillor Wright, second. Councillor Simpson. I'll give you a moment, Mads, just to pull it together.
We get to discuss and re-vote on this one?
Yeah. I just wait for it to clear up that motion there,
No,
Councillor.
that's all right.
So are we voting on this one here, or?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
before the administration, there should be a recommendation to approve subject to conditions.
Point 1 and 2 Sorry, Neil. Is it this?
No, it needs to be between,
First
Yeah.
paragraph?
needs to be just above the heading administration. Because you'll have, oh, I see,
There,
sorry, so
councillor.
before that, you've got the move of the recommendation and that was unsuccessful. Then you've got this, and there should be down the bottom, just before administration. Resolution to approve the application subject to the following conditions.
Are they, Neil, sorry, this is all I was provided. Is this what's being put in?
Yes, that's the reasoning
So that's the reasoning.
for not adopting the recommendation.
That's correct.
But we just need a resolution to approve subject to conditions.
Yep.
That's right.
So what am I marking?
The recommendation, which
Yep.
is moved by Councillor Wright and seconded by Councillor Simpson,
Correct.
to approve,
Subject to the following conditions.
to approve the
Development application.
Development.
application subject to the following conditions. Can I have following in there because the conditions are? Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So all those were all in the original report, Director McGaffin, were they?
The conditions weren't, Mr Mayor, but they are, they are standard conditions that relate to the maps and plans that have been submitted by the proponent.
Yep. So Councillor Clifford, just for your benefit, they're quite extensive. Are you happy with them being standard conditions, or would you like me to read them out to you?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so the motion that...
I'd like to ask questions.
Certainly, go for it, Councillor Bunn.
Thank you. Just within the conditions, as I said, the one and only shade tree, we have in the entire footpath and the whole frontage of this lot. Is there any conditions for that tree to be offset anywhere? And probably while I've got the floor, also been working for a very long time on street trees to try and get shaded footpaths. So they have no right of vision line to this sign. If council, I know there's power lines there, but if council was intending to shade our footpaths, what does that do to their signs?
Mr Mayor, I need to take on notice the exact location of the tree and the exact location of the sign. My understanding is that, it wasn't mentioned to me that the tree had to be removed to facilitate the sign. So we can certainly go back to the proponent and say, please don't remove the tree. I would hope and trust that that would be a satisfactory requirement. On that basis, I expect the tree to remain. Well, I imagine that moving the sign slightly a metre or two one way isn't going to be here nor there, as far as, given the distance from the intersection, there's not much difference between 43 and 45, albeit that we've said it should be moved out of the area, but happy to negotiate with the proponent that any trees aren't removed. The sheltering of the footpath will be a matter for council, and obviously the requirement that if that occurs, it would need to be done on the footpath unless you've got agreement of the landowner to be able to put up suitable plantings.
One quick question. The 65 metre distancing is relative to intersections. The officers actually looked at this private driveway crossover and that was discussed. And the officer's recommendation for refusal was above and beyond just the intersection requirement. They specifically looked at this driveway and the traffic, the turning motions and the accident history of this area and decided a sign, lit sign that cycles every 6 seconds may be a distraction to drivers that could increase accidents.
That's correct.
Any further comment, Councillor Finlay?
Fairness regarding the tree, can we put that in as a condition that it doesn't get removed?
By all means, Mr Mayor, I haven't had time to review the conditions in detail, but happy that an additional condition be in there saying no vegetation, no trees to be removed. There is a hedge along the front that I expect may suffer some damage during construction.
How granular do we want to get there?
I'll speak to this. If we don't put in the condition, the tree will go. I have a concern that the size, the growth pattern, and where the tree is, that to keep it might be an issue, but I'd be open to that discussion. I didn't know there was this alternate outcome where I would have looked at conditions, but I would say maybe the option of the trees maintained or other plantings.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. So, I'm speaking for myself, I think something towards maintaining the vegetation where possible or an offset could be suitable.
Is there would be landscaping in the conditions with that?
Oh, well, there's no scaffolding associated with the installation. Under environmental health, Matt, could you please do E?
How long's the tree been in, Nico?
Oh, it's no trees shall be removed.
It's not an old growth tree, is it?
Is it this one way back up towards the police station, but overheads footpath?
It's right up front there. And in the development application, it's a bit covered by the green line here, although you can see on agenda page 485, where you see the blue triangle for the sign, you'll actually see there's some green and some road, but you'll see the foliage overhanging 2 white cars. So,
no trees shall be removed to facilitate the construction of the sign.
without offsets to council satisfaction.
Sure.
Yeah.
Without offsets.
I don't want any offsets. I don't want the tree removed.
So,
To council satisfaction.
Depends, sorry.
Mr Mayor, could we just bring up maybe the photos once Madeline's finished? So I think, yeah, it's just looking back that way to the first photo, if we can zoom in. There looks to be like like you can see the hedge, but then are you talking about that shrub thing that's higher than the hedges? Is that the tree you're talking about?
Is that one they just haven't trimmed?
Yeah.
No, it's been removed in these. They've already removed the tree. I don't know.
The conditions in there, Mr Mayor, we are very clear on what the council's looking for, so we'll pass that on to the applicant and make sure.
The tree is almost the height of the building. If you go to the other angle, it's 2 stories high, paper bark. And it's right, it's been removed for these images. If you see just to the left in the background image, the blue sign on the 2nd story up at the gutters, the tree is that tall. I do have it on my screen. If you need to run around. I think the conditions there are big.
Can you just run that by me again, Neil? I don't want to be then going approving something that's not going to be buildable either, so.
Mr Mayor, we'll just say to the proponent that we will need to work out where the sign really should go and make sure that there's enough health left in the tree that if it needs to be trimmed during construction, that the tree still remains healthy.
No, another location.
Yeah. Or offset to another location.
If they want to put.
I'm reading around, but the prior vote was lost, so it's time to focus on the solution for the current vote. As I said, I just don't want to get into a position where we're almost stifling the development with a condition that's not achievable.
I'd speak to that. That's why I've added in offsets to the satisfaction of council.
Yep.
If they wanted to keep that area clear but put some other trees on the footpath around there, or if they wanted to move some other trees to either end of their frontage, that would still leave view lines for the sign without obscuring it, but still giving an overall benefit, although it'll take 15-20 years for a shrub to grow up to the size of that tree again.
Are you comfortable with that, Director McGuffin?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, we'll go back to the motion, please, Mads. Okay.
Yeah, I'll just comment if that's okay. Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just back what I spoke about before, in support of the third-party signage. Not everyone has the luxury of having front road, Shute Harbour Road frontage with their businesses. There's hundreds of other businesses that could advertise potentially on a sign like this, so that's why I'm supporting it.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. Okay, the motion to approve the development application, as mentioned in the report at item 11.4, subject to the revised development conditions, which have been added to the record of the meeting, but are obviously in line with standard conditions as informed by Director McGaffin with one amendment around the vegetation. I put to the vote. Those in favour?
Yes.
Those against? The motion is carried 5-2. Okay, we'll move on to item 11.5, infrastructure charges resolutions number 1, 2025. I'll move this one. Could I have a second? A second to Councillor Wright. Director McGaffin, I'll let you put this one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Infrastructure charges will remain a very important component of Council's financial consideration. The local government infrastructure plan is aimed to provide contributions from development to facilitate trunk infrastructure. At the moment, our 15-year horizon, the LG runs underground, I guess, towards the latter half of the 15-year. So we pay particular attention when there is an ability to increase the contributions. It is controlled by the state. They are generally prescribed amounts, and there is a maximum that the council is able to charge. There has been a significant increase on the 3-year moving average, above 6%, and that's certainly reflective of the cost of construction for not only commercial but certainly residential houses, that we hear all the time that the cost of construction is going up. Now, that also means that the council's cost to provide the infrastructure is going up, so it's very important that we pay cognizance to how much development contributes, and annually the state does an analysis and allows the infrastructure funds to increase to keep change with progress, and this is just doing that to keep control. It is the maximum that we're allowed to charge. I think it's very important that we do charge that on the basis that infrastructure for a council our size isn't easy, and if we have a lot of development fronts, then there becomes a prioritisation that has to be done about where that trunk infrastructure can facilitate the additional development. So all in all, that's through the LGIP. This is about the fees that are allowed to be imposed, and we've gone with the maximum that we're allowed to under the state control.
Anyone like to speak to the item? Councillor Bowman.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm always happy to see this one come up. I did move a motion once when I saw the price had changed and we hadn't jumped straight on this, because the state does set it. I know 6.4% increase on the infrastructure bills and costings we're looking at is we have to take what we can get. I understand that is set by the state, but in all the time, 7 years now I've been watching council, our percentage breakdown hasn't changed. And that charge is allocated at 30% for water, 27% for sewer, 40% for transport and 3% to parks and community facilities. If a rural residential house gets approval without water and sewer, they get 57% discount on that state maximum. When I look at our assets breakdown, water and sewer is $380 million, and Director Gary's other assets, which is mostly a big increase in transport, is $747 million. So we're talking about twice the assets in transport and buildings and other parts of that department against what our water and sewer assets are valued at today. So this is just putting it out there for discussion that perhaps we do need to look at those percentage allocations and maybe bring them up to date with things. I'm not sure if they're set right. I just haven't seen them change in a very long time, so I'd probably just flag that as something as a possibility for review, and knowing that the costs of different infrastructure is changing very quickly, but we've seen big change in transport costs and I haven't seen a change in percentage of development funds allocated to that. Thank you.
Councillor Bowman, you want to comment on the Director?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are undertaking a review of the LGIP. the LGIP was sent to the state some time ago. They weren't happy with it as far as our population projections and our growth scenarios are concerned. We do have a report coming to the next council meeting along those lines on the basis that we need to start again, and the composition, the percentages will be reviewed in that process.
Thank you. Lucky last. Sure. Just wondering if stormwater's any chance.
My recommendation, Mr Mayor, would be that stormwater has no chance. But look, it is a conversation that the council has to have. The difficulty is that at the moment, you know, as Councillor Bowman has indicated, the infrastructure fee is cut into 4 parcels. If you add stormwater, it makes the 5th, and the other 4 tend to be watered down, pardon the pun. So yeah, it is a matter for council to determine whether stormwater goes into the LGIP or whether it does that outside the LGIP.
Thank you very much. Last one.
Just to preempt the discussion, I know a lot of this goes on between the officers. Gold Coast has 55.5% allocated to transport, public parks, land, community facilities, or stormwater networks. So rather than breaking everyone down into a specific amount, they do that because I don't know if any development gets away without notice, but that's just something to put forward.
Thank you. Right, we'll take that as a comment, Councillor Bowman.
Thank you.
Okay, the motion that Council rescind the infrastructure charges resolution number 1 2024 and adopt the infrastructure charges resolution number 1 2025. I'll put to the vote. Those in favour?
Yes.
The motion's carried unanimously. Item 11.6, donations, sponsorships, in-kind requests and grants approved June 2025. Move Councillor Collins, second Councillor Finlay. Julie, I'll let you give us an overview. Thank you. Dr. Julie Srivas.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, this is just a summary of the grants and donations and sponsorships for June 2025. So we had 13 elite athlete grants totaling $3,250. We had 1 donation totaling $1,800. 4 sponsorships totaling $3,500, and 9 sport and rec club grants totaling $12,000. They're basically for the winter club sporting groups. Happy to take any questions, councillors.
Any questions, councillors, regarding the report? Okay, the motion that council note the financial support for the categories listed in the report, I'll put to the vote. Those in favour?
Yes.
Motion's carried unanimously. Item 11.7, show holidays 2026. Move Councillor Collins, second Councillor Wright. Leah, are you going to talk us through that one, Jess?
Through the Mayor, I'll hand over to our Acting Manager of Governance.
Thank you.
Today we present the proposed show and special holidays for our region in 2026. Each year the Office of the Industrial Relations allows local governments to nominate special holidays tied to agricultural, horticultural and industrial shows within our districts. These holidays provide communities the opportunity to come together and support important local events. The recommended 2026 dates are Friday 19th of June for Proserpine, Ellie Beach and Canberra districts, Tuesday the 23rd of June for Bowen districts including Bowen, Duffalunga, Gumbaloo and most of Bogey, Tuesday the 3rd of November for Collinsville and the remaining parts of Bogey, south of the Bogey River. These holidays help support local show societies and provide a dedicated day for community engagement and celebration.
Thank you. Would anyone like to ask any questions or have anything they'd like to raise? Okay, the motion that council adopt the new, we get the right one there. Sorry, can you scroll? I think we might have jumped one at one.
After 2, sorry.
Yep. Got out of work there, hang on. Where are we? The motion that council proposed special and show holidays for the 2026 calendar year, being 19th of June, Friday 19th of June 2026 for Proserpine, Ellie Beach, Cannonvale, Bowen and districts for Tuesday the 23rd of June 2026 and Collinsville district for Tuesday 3rd of November 2026. I'll put to the vote. Those in favour?
Yes.
Motion is carried unanimously. Item 11.8 is the IPOLA policy review. Move Councillor Wright, second Councillor Simpson. Acting Director, would you like to talk to the item?
Through the Mayor, I'll pass over again to Jen.
Thank you.
The Information Policy and Other Legislation Amendment Act 2023, known as the IPOLA, introduces major reforms into Queensland's privacy laws. These took effect on the 1st of July 2025, with additional breach requirements required starting the 1st of July 2026. The key changes include a single set of Queensland privacy policies aligned with the federal standards, stronger protection of personal information, clearer definitions and improved complaint processes, and amendments to the Right to Information Act to improve access, review and publication requirements. Council's requirements are to adopt and publish an up-to-date privacy policy covering how personal information is collected, used and managed, updated internal processes and publication schemes, and by July 2026, an implement of data breach policies and a breach register is required. A new privacy policy has been developed with consultation and legal review to ensure compliance.
Thank you. Any questions or anyone like to speak to the item?
Just
quickly,
is there, does this leave us open to any minor amendments with what was actually drafted in the amendment?
Through the Chair, we are proposing one minor amendment to remove the links within the policy so that there's no issue with if website changes, which will transition moving forward. And through the report, it does state that it will come back for review within 12 months because there are some further changes coming our way. There are a couple other things for consideration that we're proposing be considered under that next change.
Okay, the motion that Council adopt the new privacy policy to comply with the Information Privacy and Other Legislation Amendment Act 2023 and rescind the Privacy Policy 2024. I'll put to the vote. Those in favour?
Yes.
Motion is carried unanimously. Item number 11.9, the debt borrowing policy. Move Councillor Finlay.
Mr Mayor, just move it with an amendment, please.
Move with amendment. What's the proposed amendment?
The proposed amendment is to take out the proposed borrowings of the water fund in the 25-26 year and also in the 20-34-35 year. It is, could be wrong about the date, Mr Mayor. Okay, a seconder, I'm happy to speak to that, Mr Mayor.
Anyone like to second the amendment?
I'll second, we'll go there again. Give them this chance to speak.
Yep, okay, second the amendment. Leah, would you like to talk us through?
Through the Chair, the water loan in question in 25-26, as we discussed at the special budget meeting, is currently in the council budget that was endorsed back on the 18th of June. At the moment, this is identified as loan funding. We are expecting changes in our LGIP moving forward that will change the funding source for that particular project. At this point in time, there's no council resolution around that. So instead of allocating internal reserves to fund this project, once the LGIP change comes through council, the change in funding source will move at that point in time. So at this stage, we're proposing through borrowings. That will be reviewed in budget reviews as we move through this financial year as further information comes into play.
Yeah, talk to please, Mr. Sam.
Can we just run through implications of this particular one in terms of our budget and other parts of the...
Certainly. So through the Mayor, at the moment the budget endorsed by Council has that funding source applied. Making an adjustment in this policy will essentially not then align with Council's long-term financial forecast that was endorsed and may cause some issues in that space. I would propose that the policy is adopted as is during budget reviews. Once we identify that alternative funding, we can again bring this policy back for consideration at that point in time. Up to Council, happy to take any further questions that there might be as well.
Okay. Shall I speak to the item, Councillor Finlay?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, one of the reasons, I'll speak to my motion, and one of the reasons why I didn't approve the original, or vote for the original one, was there was a reference to a $2.5 million borrowing for the water fund in 2031-32, which obviously wasn't in the water fund, it belongs to the sewage fund, and it wasn't in the models that got presented to us 2 days before the budget review. So that was one of the reasons why I didn't vote for this debt policy originally. But I continued my vote against this policy regarding to the water. The budgeted cash balance for water, as per those models that we received 2 days before the budget meeting, Mr Mayor, $12.6 million. That balance continues to grow and has consistently remained over $11 million for the next 10 years, growing up to $20 million in 7 years, as per that forecast. There is no need to actually borrow this money of $867,000 in this budget. We have got plenty of money in there, and Mr Mayor, for our financial management expertise that we've got around this table and our staff, surely we can manage an $867,000 worth of funding from within our own resources. As I said, in effect, are we borrowing to give a dividend from the water fund back to the general fund in a sort of a way here? I would hopefully we're not going to do that, Mr Mayor. And also, when you do look at the proposal going forward to 2034-35, it's actually showing a $6.5 million dividend to the general fund. So I'm hoping that in our long-term forecast that we are not anticipating such a shortfall in the general fund in those years to come. That's going to be funded from a huge dividend coming from the water fund, Mr Mayor. So I put it forward that, and it was stated that we couldn't change the budget, but I believe we could have done it back then, and I'm still probably take the CEO's direction on this to whether or not, if we do adopt this, we do then anticipate changing the 10-year forecast and everything like that. So it is, Mr Mayor, we don't need to borrow this money.
Thank you, Councillor Finlay. Anyone else like to speak to the amendment? Councillor Bowman, would you like to speak to the amendment?
Thank you. I did second.
Excuse me, Mr.
Councillor
Mayor, I
Finlay
have to
had
leave.
say. I think this is obviously an important.
Hold on 1 second, please, Councillor Bowman. Councillor Clifford, did you say something there?
Yeah, I have a doctor's appointment. I have to leave the meeting. So thank you very much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, all right. And, let it be recorded that Councillor Clifford left the meeting at 11:44 a.m.
Okay. Right, thank you. I do understand Councillor Finlay's questioning, about especially a small amount like the 865, but as Acting Director Leah spoke to, this is really a scheduling thing. I think my very first meeting in council, we started with the LGIP, and then I don't even think I had something to say on that because I never believed it would get through the state. I think it's a shame we've been through that process and it's taken this long to do that, and we've got to go through that again. I see this as an option if, say, we're here in 2.5 years still trying to get an LGIP through, that we put this loan process in place. But realistically, we should have an LGIP. The funds will be coming from the development funds that we just set the resolution for to fund that. The other thing is, $10-12 million sitting there, but we have $235 million worth of water assets. A $10-11 million slush fund is not a huge amount with the projects and growth that we have within the region. So as we said, we're not locking ourselves in with this policy. We're just reaching out to Treasury. We are setting ourselves up for future decisions. At this point, although I'm happy and I listen to your reasoning and I try and look into that, but at this point, I think we can leave our options broader, and that's what I see the policy doing here for us, is allowing us to make those decisions at that time.
So, point of order, Councillor Bowman, are you talking for the amendment or against the amendment?
I'm talking against the proposed amendment at the moment.
That you just seconded?
I seconded to have the discussion, but as just because I second or move something doesn't mean I'm not buried by the
That's
discussion.
fine. I just wanted to clarify that. So.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank you.
so I was thinking that now, already supporting me, now he's going the other way.
I did the same thing in the budget, man. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Barman. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak?
Yeah, thank you. I'm, through the chair, I'm probably against the amendment, and for the first time I probably agree with Councillor Bowman, but yeah, look, I think you've got to have a bit of faith in the staff. Look, I think we've got our point across that we do want to have the final say in how whether we take out a loan or we pay for it outright. So yeah, look, I support the motion as it is, but yeah, I don't support the amendment.
Yeah, look, I think in essence, the policy doesn't lock us into anything with regards to borrowings, and I think, you know, acknowledge the intent of the strategic discussion, Councillor Finlay, that we still need to have in a lot of ways, but I think going either way here is yeah, I think we're better off leaving our options open. Again, it doesn't lock us into anything. So, anyone else like to speak to the amendment?
Just that I'd be happy to withdraw my seconding if the mover didn't want to put this to a vote, and we can go straight back to, or we can go through the vote and have it recorded. But we already had it recorded in the budget meeting as well.
Mover?
Mr Mayor, I'm not happy to withdraw my motion.
All right, so retain, we'll put it to the vote. Okay, the motion, just make sure that we've, hang on, so what have we got here from an amended motion point of view?
So, the policy, excluding borrowings for water, that the policy be endorsed, excluding borrowings identified in Appendix A, being, and then we'll put some dot points, excluding borrowings in Appendix A, which are, and then put the two little dots and put some dot points underneath, because there's three of them. Yeah, first one, 2025-26, water, 865,000. Second dot point, 2031-32. Sewer.
34-35.
Oh, sorry, 34-35, the last one.
For water for 656,000.
Yeah. 34.
There was an amendment that changed it from 2.5 million for water to sewage.
656. 656. I just changed sewer to
Right, first.
656,000. And let's just change sewer back to water.
You comfortable with that amendment, Councillor Finlay?
Yeah, Mr.
Yep. Okay, the motion of council resolved in accordance with section 192 of the local government regulation to adopt the debt borrowing policy for the 25-26 financial year with the amendment as noted there on the screen. I put to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? The motion is lost. 1, 2, how many have we got in the room still? 5? Starting to screw with my wiring, so. Okay. Yeah, so we'll revert back to the original motion. Moved Councillor Wright, second Councillor Simpson. The council resolved in accordance with section 192 of local government regulation 2012 to adopt the amended debt borrowing policy for the 25-26 financial year as originally presented in the report. I put to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried 5-1. On the division, Councillor Finlay?
Oh, why not, Mr. Mayor? Yeah, why not? We spoke about divisions earlier. No other division. Why not? Thank you.
Recorded division, Councillor Finlay.
Recorded division. Don't usually go that way.
Okay. All right. Something. Moving on to 11.10, Office of the Mayor and CEO Quarterly Report. I'll move. Second, Councillor Wright. Mr CEO, would you like to talk to this one?
So just for the quarter, April to June, remembering that this covers primarily the office, including communications, marketing and people and culture. We report separately in relation to the capital program and also our commercial businesses. So over the quarter, our focus was really on the operational plan and its endorsement, the capital program endorsement, corporate plan endorsement, and the budget process. In addition, the endorsement of the economic development strategy. So in terms of the two functional areas, particularly in terms of marketing and communications, the team is really doing a lot of day-to-day activity in terms of ensuring that communication is out and about. But they have been also focused a little bit more in relation to having a look at some of our commercial businesses, having a look at some of the economic development and advocacy programs and making sure our collateral is to a very high standard, working through a range of the events and working with the events team through that process. We've also been running a waste campaign, which has got a range of different techniques to try and get people to be aware of our waste approach and our educational campaign. We've also done a little bit of work on branding and logo. That's primarily about some of our commercial businesses and making sure their logos are a bit more up to date and a little bit more contemporary. We've been doing a lot of work in-house in relation to that. So the team actually does a lot of the actual work, the graphics, the videography, the photographs, etc. in-house, and that's been a very effective and efficient model for us. We've also seen some work in the website, and you may not see it yet, but it's a lot of work that is actually in the back of how the website works and transition, but also working through to make sure our website is the most appropriate we can and try and improve our search engines going forward. In terms of advocacy, we have been having some really focused advocacy over the last quarter, really working through providing documentation to the Mayor, so when he does attend meetings with the ministers and other members, we're able to actually ensure our message is getting across and following up on the process. We've also been doing work in relation to the Olympics and obviously trying to fine-tune what is the logistics for the sailing and how do we actually maximise that into the region. We've also been doing a little bit of work on welcome packs and just trying to work through what is it is, and we're going to change a residential ownership, what are some of those opportunities we provide and try and provide them in a different way. In particular, we're trying to find a way to encourage people to then move on to our electronic systems at that early stage. In terms of our HR, one of the big things we've been trying to do of late is actually get out and about to a range of the schools and some of the events to really highlight that a council is a great place to work. We have quite a range of employment opportunities and a whole range of occupations over it, and trying to highlight that that is where we'd like to see some of the young people, particularly those who've grown up in the areas, to come on board with the council, either as a traineeship or an apprentice or as a worker going forward. And that exercise with the team out and about has really been highlighting some of the great things local government does.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any questions or comments regarding the report? Councillor Barr?
Maybe not so much for the CEO on this. Well, I recognise all the work that's gone in the quarter, but it's the first time I've seen mention of the Whitsunday events centres, just under the logo and rebranding.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Basically what we've been looking at is we've had a number of event locations, we've had a number of different techniques. Obviously there's an advantage of bringing them together as one to really maximise that element. And might get Director Dave Turner just to provide a little bit of insight in terms of how that bundling is occurring.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Through the Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Bowden. So some time ago I actually briefed council around how we might be able to better promote the council-owned facilities that hold events such as Flagstaff, Shute Harbour and the PEC. So the idea was to come up with that sort of forward-facing, its own event centre brand. We've developed the logo, but we're still working on how we actually then put that together to actually then get that out to the consumer. So it's really, if people are looking for an event space in the Whitsundays before they arrive or whilst they're here, residents or the like, they can go to that one place, they can book on site and really just promote really clearly what the events offer, what the facility capacity is, what catering is available. So sort of a one-stop shop for those facilities to try and actually get them to generate more usage and more revenue.
for your comments, questions? Okay, the motion the council receive the Office of Mayor and CEO quarterly report for April to June 2025. I put to the vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Item number 11.11, Corporate Services Quarterly Report. Move Councillor Wright, second Councillor Bowman. Acting Director, would you like to speak to?
Thank you. Through the Mayor, for the last month I've had the privilege of acting in the Director role with Jason Bradshaw leading the organisation. So we have in front of us our quarterly report up to June for corporate services. This quarter in particular is one of our busiest for our directorates. Main reasons being around end of financial year, a huge buzz of activity that happens leading up to 30 June. And we work across the organisation to achieve some of those milestones. So, for example, processing over $20 million worth of invoices in the month of June for our suppliers, which is almost double what our standard month production is, as well as closing out a range of capitalisation, so all of our assets as they become online, recognising them financially. So we work across the business to achieve those outcomes. So in addition to that, similar to what the CEO mentioned before, the focus on the operational plan through the governance team and newly aligned with our new corporate plan as well endorsed by Council, as well as putting together the rating strategy that was workshopped through Council budget deliberations. In the IT space, we've worked on the governance, so we've set up an ICT steering committee to ensure some visibility across the organisation in relation to ICT activities, as well as a working draft of an ICT strategy that's being finalised as well on what the future looks like for Whitsundays. In the procurement space, they had a successful session called Doing Business with Council held at the Proserpine Entertainment Centre. The team partnered with the Department of State Development to engage with our local suppliers to help them understand the way Council works in relation to procurement and help provide them with the skills they need to be able to transact with Council more effectively. The focus for the continued months is around continuous improvement, a huge outcome from the budget process. Happy to take any questions they might have on the Directorate as a whole, otherwise I'll take it as read.
Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Acting Director. I'd just like to take this moment to say thank you to Jason Bradshaw for all his time as Director. And thank you for stepping up. I know it is a very busy time. I can see that through the report. Certainly recognise the capitalisation process too. Over $50 million capitalised this year, fair bit of catch up. I think it's one thing for us, we see the depreciation, but that depreciation also allows us to keep up with our renewals and repairs and other capital works going forward. So it's the good and the bad of both. Probably just, I think it was after a Bowen meeting I stopped in at the PEC for the Doing Business with Council. I think it was a very good turnout. A good job done by Properties and Procurement, but I do see even in the monthly financials we talk about our $76 million expenditure. It's not always very clear how much of that is spent local, so that is something I wonder whether graphically, now and again we get it in different review reports, but I think it's very important about the amount of money that we're putting back into local businesses, and that should be a constant aim of ours to see that reinvestment locally. Probably the weight off you, Leah, in this one is just on page 569. I've kind of been seeing this pop up a little bit, is the strategic leadership team. I know you have steering committees. I know other councils do subcommittees with councillors sitting on them. We're doing steering committees. But just when I see things like determining priorities with the strategic leadership team, and we deal in a world of operational and strategic separation, and maybe just look to a bit of an explanation of, I've looked at the email list of the members, but just a little bit of an explanation of exactly where, the mayor's not on that team, no elected representatives are on that team. I'm just trying to find the balance between where we fit in determining the strategic future of the council. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, so in general we use a number of different teams to actually do some of the work we do. Our ELT is the people you're seeing around the table here. We created a strategic leadership team which to really add some additional people into that to actually talk about our internal strategically. That included obviously having our media and comms component. It included having our, in some cases, our finance team brought along. Sometimes it's our HR safety team as part of that component. Sometimes it's also bringing along specialist expertise on whatever the topic is. So it's a way of actually running through those components. It also brings on board our capital program team to talk about certain of our projects. So ELT is our core directors, strategic leadership team. We also have another team below that which is actually called our management team, where we bring all of the managers across the organisation together for a morning to basically talk through a range of both operational or strategic issues as well as part of their training and education program. I think in terms of the councillors, you are the decision makers, and so therefore you are available to actually comment in relation to that. So that kind of gives you a bit of a structure.
I think just commenting on that, Councillor Bowman, has been raised previously. I think, strategic strategy, operational strategy. I probably questioned the use of the term strategy generally at the time, but I think as the CEO articulated, the intent is to maybe adopt a more forwardly looking focus in the operational side of things. So, anything further on the Corporate Services Quarterly Report? I guess probably just a comment I'll make. There's always sort of different areas that gravitate interest. I think, it's good obviously seeing, particularly around the contract RFQ tender awarding. You know, we as a body obviously undertake a level of decision making around particularly the capital works program and other operational initiatives. So I think, I think it's good to see this. We know that there is levels of progress to these things occurring, but obviously good to see things in there. Particularly like the landfill cell in Bowen there, going out to design, some of the commercial elements that are moving along and getting works done to them, just generally the progress occurring, I guess I would say. So thank you for that, and it's good report. Anything further from anyone? Probably one just to Director Turner. I did notice the Surf Club Queens Beach licensing opportunities awarded 26 March 2025. Any update, Director Turner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for that great question. We've been engaging with the successful licensees of the Surf Club or the Bowen Hub. Unfortunately, I'm here to report that we're not getting much traction with them, so we'll be sending them a correspondence to outline what it looks like going forward. Based on their reply, there may be some undertakings to reactivate that facility for the purpose of what it was meant to be, community, but also there are some conversations with some other sporting groups that have interest in that site as well.
Thank you, Director. Anything further? Okay, the motion that Council receive the Corporate Services Quarterly Report for Quarter 4 of the 24-25 financial year, I put to the vote. Those in favour? The motion's carried. I probably shouldn't say unanimously, 6-0. So, yeah. Okay, moving on to item 11.12, monthly finance report. Have a move, Councillor Collins, second, Councillor Wright. Acting Director, would you like to speak to your report?
Thank you. Through the Mayor, we have in front of us today the interim unaudited reports for the end of June. So I would heed caution in these figures. The end of financial year process for an organisation of our size, $260 million worth of organisation, is a very in-depth process. So the timing of producing these reports and all of the end of financial year activities that have to happen, there is a delay. So what you'll see in these reports is obviously the position reported when this report was run. Following this report running, there's a range of end of financial year activities that happen, ranging from accruals, so Our organisation is essentially open for 2 weeks in July to recognise all invoices, to ensure costs are recognised in the correct financial year, as well as assessment of provisions for landfills, for leave, etc. Final reconciliations of our bank, our revenue recognition under the accounting standards, which takes a considerable amount of time considering how many grants that council achieves, as well as review of disclosures, stock takes of inventory across our quarry, across our PEC, for example, and certain valuations. So one thing to note that isn't reported in here is in relation to our financial assistance grant. So we did receive 2.9 million before 30 June, which will be recognised as revenue in the 24-5 financial year. This is outside of what was budgeted for. So the figure that's reporting in these reports is a deficit of $5.6 million. Taking into consideration that 2.9 million that was above what we had expected in our budget, it will change the bottom line from what we had budgeted to end the year at about 3.7 million. So our financial statements are currently being audited at this point in time. We will be bringing back to council, obviously, our audited financial statements with the final position for council for 30 June. But I'm happy to take any questions that there might be in the interim. Leave it open to the table.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Fennell?
Thank you. Yeah, I guess just in relation to the deficit, and we are aware of what the draft revised deficit of that will be. Still going to be, $3 or $4 million there, mainly as a result of the 2.9 million bags grant that we've received in advance. So it does distort the figures a little bit. I think the reality of it is that there's still somewhere between $3 and $4 million deficit. Obviously, we've got concerns about that, Mr. Mayor, if that pertains to mainly the general fund. It's certainly not sustainable going forward, as we know. And obviously now your amendment, you're added to the budget resolution, plus what we're going to be doing this year, in conjunction with some of the other conversations we've already had today. We've got a lot of work to do, Mr. Mayor, to rein this in, to come back to affordability. And council will have to make some pretty tough decisions on service standards and everything like that to rein this in, because at the moment this is not sustainable. But the other thing I'd like to commend the staff on too is with the cash flow statement, with the inclusion, a little summary on the bottom of it, which includes the investment figure in there. So it gives you the total overall figure. When we receive the audited financial statements, that won't be like that, shown that way. But for reporting purposes for this, I commend the staff for putting this in like this. So thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Fennell. Councillor Barnett?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. As sort of touched on, we know this is looking backwards as a report. We know we're coming to end of year financials where a lot of stuff, a lot of catch up to do in a short amount of time. But for me, what was interesting here is, we're running, waiting for things to accrue. We're running at 96% of revenue and 97% of expenses. So 1% difference, and that has varied our bottom line significantly to go from 3 odd to 5.5. So these are, very small margins play a big difference on our bottom line. That's we're talking to, over $250 million budget. These things of, how close we are playing it to the line to try and get value of money for the residents, is realistically coming down to pennies in the dollar when we are looking around surplus deficit. But I also just want to point out in here that expenses so far equate, the amount we discussed for the library today comes down to 1,000th of this bottom line. 1,000. I think our residents have worked that even just 10,000. Thank you.
Just one for the acting director there. I think just just taking obviously information in the report, particularly around ratepayer collection. We've got a shortfall there on budget, but I'll just pick up on a comment you had made sort of late in the budget process around the change for short-term accommodation, and that we'd hoped to realise potentially more revenue in through that last rating period. Has that had any impact? Because I'd sort of probably taken away from that would definitely help us pick up some of that shortfall.
Through the Mayor, thank you for your question. So yes, at end of financial year, we did generate almost $1 million additional revenue in the 24-5 financial year from commercial accommodation. Noting that line item in the report also includes our utility charges, of which we haven't yet included our water consumption accrual for the water meter read that had just taken place. So that will lift that figure even higher to the percentage that you raised before, Councillor Bowman.
Thank you. Okay, anything further on the monthly financial report, Councillor Finlay?
Yeah, that's probably just answered my question. So, Leah, would that be why the other assets is only 4.5 as against what we budgeted 6.5? Because I think what I've been asked before is under other assets, that's where we take up the water meter.
Through the Chair, yes, that is correct, John. The process that happens is we wait for our water meter reads to occur. We load those consumptions into our billing platform to be able to give us the figure for what we will be charging and issuing the rates that issue in July, August. So once that happens, we then recognise that revenue and we see that adjustment through current assets. Other assets, sorry.
Okay, anything further, councillors? Okay, the motion that council received the monthly financial report, including the unaudited financial statements for the period ended 30th of June 2025. I put to the vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried 6-0. Okay, that brings us to the end of ordinary business. How are we tracking for time? 12:13. We'll keep going, everyone. So we'll move to item 12, confidential matters. Can I please have a mover to move us into confidential business? Move Councillor Wright, second Councillor Bowman. Just getting one member of the public out. And can I please have a mover and second to reopen us? Move Councillor Bowman, second Councillor Finlay. All those in favour? So carried 6-0 to move out of confidential at 12:35 p.m. Okay, moving on to item 12.1.
Just check, are we on Teams and?
Yes,
we're
recording on Teams and video, voice.
Yep. Okay, so item 12.1, land lease, part of Lot 3, Shute Harbour Road, Cannon Valley to, the motion resolves to award the contract lease for cane farming at Lot 3, Shute Harbour Road, Cannon Valley to P. Atkinson and Holmes Harvesting and authorise the CO to negotiate and execute a lease agreement. All in favour? Sorry, I didn't do that, did I? Good pick up. Can I please have a mover? Move Councillor Simpson, second Councillor Wright. I won't repeat the resolution again. I think we all heard it the first time. All those in favour? The motion is carried 6-0. Item number 12.2, Paluma Industrial Proprietary Limited and Whitsunday Regional Council Infrastructure Agreement. Move Councillor Wright, second Councillor Finlay. That council delegate to the CEO to execute the Paluma Road Water and Sewer Infrastructure Agreement between Whitsunday Regional Council, Paluma Industrial Proprietary Limited, Altman Rise Proprietary Limited and Woodwalk Rise Proprietary Limited. All in favour? The motion is carried 6-0. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 13, matters of importance. Would any councillors like to raise any matters of importance? Councillor Wright.
Thank you, through the Mayor. I'd just like to move a vote of thanks to our recently departed Director of Corporate Services, Mr. Jason Bradshaw. Recognise everything that he's done for our council and recognise his huge contribution, dedication and service to Whitsunday Regional Council, and wish Jason all the best for the future.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Anything else, councillors? Okay, if we're all said and done, I'll declare the ordinary meeting finished at 12:37 p.m. Thank you everyone for your attendance.